What's up guys, my name is Lauren and welcome back to my channel. It has been quite a while. It feels so good to be back. I missed you guys, missed making videos. I have been making like short form content, but in case that's not your cup of tea, here I am for a regular, old school, long form YouTube video. Let's talk about life, where I've been, all that. In case you didn't know, I just had a baby. It was my third baby. I had a little boy and he is just over 4 months old now. So I think I posted one video after he was born. I'd have to look back. I don't even remember doing that. That's how out of it I was, but we're gonna get into all that. It has been wonderful and so hard all at the same time. Two things can be true at once, and the older I get, the more I find that to be the case. So let's go back to April when I was 9 months pregnant and go from there. So in April, I was 9 months pregnant and we had been planning from the beginning to do an induction at 39 weeks. If I didn't go before, I did that with my second daughter and part of the reason we did that is because I was 35 at the time, and now a couple years later, I was even older. I turned 38 like a week after my son was born. So I was 37, almost 38, and it felt like the right thing to do. And I was very happy with that because I knew like I had a definite end date to my pregnancy. I wasn't gonna go over my due date and I could count on at least being done by that date. So the night before the induction, I was feeling off and having a lot of contractions, but they were lasting a really long time. Like one of my contractions, it just like my stomach got hard and it never got soft again for like several minutes. And it didn't like hurt that whole time, but it just like, it felt weird. It felt different. So I had a feeling something was like going on. We ended up going to the hospital that night to just get checked out, and it ended up that they were like, he seems okay, like just go back home and come back in the morning, which was a bummer because it's like we drove 40 minutes to the hospital and we're like, you can't just keep us now that we're here. And they're like, no, we don't have any beds, but whatever, come back in 12 hours and we'll have a spot for you. So we did that. We didn't sleep great that night. We came back in the morning and the weird contractions had stopped. Oh, and the night before I couldn't really feel him moving too much, which, you know, sometimes they're sleeping or whatever. But in the morning, like I felt him moving again and those weird contractions had stopped. So anyway, we went in for our induction in the morning. We got there about 7 and I got hooked up to Pitocin by 8 a.m. Now, with Pitocin, what they do is every 15 minutes, they increase your dose of Pitocin until you're having like regular contractions. So I was already having like a couple random contractions, but with Pitocin, it definitely like picked it up and I was getting like back-to-back contractions with a very low dose of Pitocin like right away. So they increased it again, and then about like 30 to 40 minutes into Pitocin, this was probably like 8:45-ish when I started Pitocin at 8, the nurse came in and she turned off the Pitocin. And I was like, what's going on? And she was like, yeah, he's not liking the Pitocin. Like, we've been watching his heart on the monitor, and every time you have a contraction, his heart rate dips, but it's supposed to recover, and it's not recovering like we like to see it. So we're gonna turn off the Pitocin for a little bit and see how you do. So we turned off the Pitocin, his heart rate went back to normal, and we turned it back on to the lowest setting again. It was only on like the second lowest setting by the time she turned off the first time. So we turned on the Pitocin again. It was another like 15-20 minutes and she came back in and turned off the Pitocin again. And it was like, yeah, he's really not liking the Pitocin. His heart rate is not looking, we don't like how his heart rate is looking. I'm like, okay, this is feeling like this is not gonna work. So the nurse was like, let's try just doing no Pitocin, you're still having contractions, let's see how he's doing. And they said, even with your regular contractions with no Pitocin, his heart rate is not how we like to see it. And each time she came in, I got more suspicious that this was not gonna work. Like my other two kids, I was able to give birth like vaginally and no problem, didn't have like, there was like, you know, some hiccups along the way, but everything worked out fine. And I was able to like push them both out. But with this one, right from the beginning, since the first time she came in, I was like, I wonder if this is going to end up in a C-section. And so by the third time she came in, and she was like, yeah, the regular contractions, like your baby isn't liking the regular contractions. She's like, let me grab your midwife and we'll talk to you about it. And as soon as the nurse left, I turned to my husband and I was like, it's gonna be a C-section. Like, he's not liking, his heart rate isn't looking good with Pitocin, without Pitocin. At this point, it's like maybe 9:30. I've been there for an hour and a half. And if we're only an hour and a half into labor, I was maybe like 3 centimeters dilated. There's no way that they're gonna feel comfortable, or I'm gonna feel comfortable like pushing through another who knows how many hours of labor. With my second daughter, it took 8 hours, so it would have been another like maybe 6 hours of this. So at this point, I was like not giving up all hope, because I hadn't talked to my midwife yet to like get the full explanation, but I was pretty sure that we were gonna have to do a C-section. So my midwife comes in, she's like, look, he doesn't like the Pitocin, he doesn't like the contractions. We could wait this out a while and he could turn a different way and it could go better, because they had me like trying to flip to one side then the other, then like on all fours to see if he moved positions, and that would be better for the contractions and his heart rate and things. And so we'd been trying those things. So she was like, look, we could try to keep doing these things and wait it out. I'm not going to put you back on Pitocin, but see if like labor progresses on its own. But I don't think anything's going to change, and he could decline quickly, and the best thing to do is just to get him out of there and do a C-section. So it was so heartbreaking to hear that. And I didn't make this video. I was planning to film this birth stories, life update, everything like very shortly after he was born. And every time I thought about talking about it, I just got hysterically crying, because it was so upsetting and disappointing to not have the birth that you wanted. And at the end of the day, the thing that's most important, and that I could tell myself back then and I tell myself now too, is that he's healthy and safe and I'm healthy and safe, and that's like the best outcome you can have from any birth. But at the same time, like, it's okay. I mean, comes back to the two things can be true at once. You can be so grateful to have a healthy baby and that you're healthy and safe and everything went fine, and also be disappointed and heartbroken that you didn't have the birth that you wanted. So, and part of it was because I had had 2 babies before, so I knew what that moment was like when you push your baby out and they put your baby on your chest, and that feeling of just like, it's the best feeling in the world. And that experience, I knew this was my last baby. I wanted to get to do that one more time, and knowing that like I wasn't going to get that moment in that same way was really hard, because when I look back on my life when I'm old, I know the moment like my babies were born are going to be the best moments of my life. And with my son, I didn't get that in the same way I got it with my daughters. So it was really hard, that moment. But the good thing was, I was like, okay, how long is it going to be? Because this is like, I didn't think it was like really an emergency C-section. Like, they weren't like rush me to the OR. Like, he's doing fine for now. Like, especially with the Pitocin stop, his heart rate seemed to be like better, not perfect, but a lot better, like very comfortable. They weren't like rushing me in. And so I wasn't sure if like there was other planned C-sections, or when the surgeon was going to be available, or like what the deal was with how it worked. So I asked my midwife how long till we do the C-section. She's like, well, from the time we make the call, which if you're telling me yes, we're going to make the call right now, we try to have the baby out within 30 minutes. And I was like, oh, wow, I thought I was going to be sitting here for hours, like waiting for this procedure to happen, waiting to go into surgery, and like worrying and stressing. And like, I was so relieved to hear that they were going to get him out right away. And I wasn't going to just have to sit. Like, they were going to bring the surgeon in, they were going to bring the anesthesiologist in, they were going to talk to me for 10 minutes, they were going to prep everything and get me in there. So, and that's what ended up happening. So this was maybe like 10 a.m. by this point, and surgery had started by like 10:30, 10:40, and he was born just before 11. I debated about how much I want to share about my C-section, because if you're having one, like, I don't want to share my experience and scare you, but at the same time, like, if I had known these things, I would have done stuff a little bit different, I think. And so maybe me sharing can help someone. So if you don't want to hear about kind of the downsides or the negative sides of what can happen with the C-section, then skip this part. So they took me in. My husband had to wait in the room until they like had me all prepped and ready. And so they took me in and they got me all numb, and I should have told the anesthesiologist that like my epidural didn't work before and I have scoliosis and like there's some issues with numbing me down there. overall I was numb, but at one point, like halfway through closing me up, I did start feeling a lot of pain, which was really disturbing because you're awake during surgery. And I was in so much pain that like I couldn't even really talk, like explain what was happening. Anyway, I'm jumping ahead. So we, they get me in there, they get me all set, they're going to get my husband, and then the surgeon asks, like, can we start? And I didn't have like the wherewithal to be like, can you wait till my husband's here to start? Which was not a big deal. But he ended up walking in when I was already open, and they put a curtain there so you can't see what's going on. But the door to the room was like on the other side. So my head was here, the curtain was here, and then the door was over here. And so he walked past me having open abdomen surgery, like he didn't need to see that. He's the type of guy who is fine with that. Like the nurses were like, you need to sit down, I don't want you to pass out. And he's like, no, I'm okay, like it's okay. But a lot of people, when they see something like that, will be like, it'll make you like faint. So anyway, that was like the first thing that was like kind of like, wish you could have brought him in here so he didn't have to see me like mid-surgery. And then they got him out within, like, from starting surgery, it was like so quick, maybe like, I don't know, I couldn't even tell you, 5 minutes, 10 minutes less, I don't know. And the biggest blessing is that the moment he came out, he was crying. And that was the thing I was worried about, is he going to be crying, or is it going to be like that wait to hear him cry? Because sometimes with C-sections, like the baby doesn't cry right away. I don't know. I was so relieved when they held him up and he was crying and he was okay. But then from there, they immediately start closing you up, and they took the baby over to this area to like check all his vitals. And when I've had my other two daughters, like they put the baby on my chest and we did skin to skin while they were checking vitals, but for some reason with the C-section they put the baby over in like the little baby warmer, and I couldn't hold him. And maybe I could have, because I've seen videos of people like with their C-sections that doing skin to skin while they're getting closed up. But again, it just all happened so quick. I wasn't prepared to think about these things, that by the time like they were already doing that and I was on all these drugs to help me with like numbing and pain and whatever, like I didn't think to be like, well, can you bring him over here and so he can be on my chest right now, like I want to be with him. And by the time I started thinking about that was when stuff started hurting. So I couldn't feel pain around like the actual site where they were closing me up, because there's all these layers they cut through. It's really gross. And so I couldn't feel pain like down there, but I felt pain like in the middle of my abdomen, because I think they were pulling stuff closed. And so the top of my abdomen, where like they were pulling on things, I was feeling like a lot of pain. And it wasn't just pressure. Like they said, oh, it should feel like heavy on your chest and maybe like hard to breathe. And that wasn't it. It was like actually hurt. And, but I was trying not to make a big deal of it because I didn't want them to knock me out. I didn't want to be unconscious, and because I wanted to like meet my baby and like, anyway. So they were like, hold on, like it's not going to hurt so much in a couple minutes. They're just doing this one part and then it should feel better. And I'm like, what the fuck kind of answer is that? Like, it is 2025, like hold on, it's going to hurt for a little bit and then it's not going to hurt. Like you can't give me anything to like numb it a little bit more than it is. You can't put anything in my IV that's going to help right now. Like it was just a wild answer to me. And I was so uncomfortable that I couldn't even like barely speak. I was just trying to like breathe. And I was like, my husband said it was like something out of a horror movie for him, like just the moaning. And anyway, I don't even want to talk about it because I'm going to start crying. So that was not great, but like that wasn't the worst pain of the whole situation at the end of the day. Like that was short-lived, and then they got me closed up and they brought the baby over to me and my husband was holding him and I got to like, you know, talk to him and stuff. And then eventually we got to get out of there. They were done with the surgery and we got back to our delivery room, and it was the same room that I had delivered my second baby in. So I was so sad that I didn't get to deliver him in there, because I was like so excited when they brought me there, and like, oh, we had such great memories of being in this room and her being born in this room. And I just, anyways, so we get back to the room and I'm super out of it, and but I get to like hold him and try to nurse him, and that goes great. And Like, I've just been through it. And he's just been through it, and my husband's been through it, and we're just kind of like all decompressing from what just happened. And then it starts to hurt. My incision starts to hurt. And I can't explain how painful this was. And I don't think this was the typical experience, because again, I've seen videos since then of like women standing up 24 hours post C-section, and they're putting on a belly binder and they're standing and doing their makeup. When I tell you, within the first 24 hours, like after the numbing wore off, I tried to stand up a few hours later. It was the most horrific pain I've ever felt. Like, I could not stand. And so something else happened with like my nerves or something in the way that my C-section went that ended up being super painful for the first like almost month. It was very hard to stand and walk. Like the first week I didn't change my baby's diaper at all, which again makes me so sad. It's not the end of the world, but yeah, I couldn't stand. I couldn't stand long enough. Like when we got home from the hospital a couple days later, I was in bed for like completely in bed for like 3 to 4 weeks. And I would get out of bed just to shower. I would shower every day because that, like, if I don't shower every day, my mental health plummets. And I had this thing where I was like, okay, I can get out of bed and shower, but I have to time my pain medication for it. And then when I get out of bed, I'm like on a countdown. I'm like, okay, I have 3 minutes before the pain becomes so unbearable that I need to be laying down again. So let me take a super quick shower before that pain escalates, because as I would stand, it would start to hurt more and more and more. And each day that got a little better. I could stand for 5 minutes, I could stand for 10 minutes, I could stand for 12 minutes before it gets to that unbearable level of pain. But once it hits that threshold, like I have to lay down immediately, or it's like it's just like it's blinding pain. So anyway, I kind of jumped ahead, but we're in the hospital. I'm like on a ton of pain medication. Like they give me oxycodone, Tylenol, and Motrin, and then they have to shoot morphine into my IV because it is so horrifically painful. And if you aren't familiar with my videos from over the years, like I used to have a drug problem. Like I have a history with drug abuse, and so taking any sort of medication that, like an opiate or something that you have abused at one point in your life, is very triggering. And so there's a whole host of emotional stuff going on, because like there's a sick part of me that's excited that I get opiates. I'm like, oh, I get to have a little taste right now. And then there's a part of me that's like really scared of like, okay, and then when I have to stop this in a few days or a few weeks, like how is that experience gonna be? And like as somebody who used to do drugs in a very like dangerous way, being a mom and having to like have those paths cross is hard. So I did end up taking opiates for about 2 weeks. They sent me home with some. It was absolutely necessary. Nursing, that's supposed to be like this bonding experience with your baby, especially since I've done it twice before. I felt like I knew what I was doing. It was going to go well. I was like excited for it. And the pressure of his little body, his little 7-pound body sitting on my abdomen while he nursed was so painful. Like nursing really hurt at first, and we pushed through, and now 4 months in, he's still like exclusively breastfeeding, which I'm so proud of and so grateful for that he and I pushed through that, and we were able to keep going with that. But yeah, it was total, like with my second daughter, I got Tylenol and Motrin and I was fine, and I barely even needed that after 24 hours versus 2+ weeks of opiates. Anybody who says a C-section is taking the easy way out has never, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And I never thought that before I had one, and now that I had one, it's so, if you've had a C-section and you don't know like how hard it is compared to having a vaginal birth. My first daughter, I had a tear that took 45 minutes to stitch up, and that recovery was 1,000 times easier than recovering from my C-section. Wish I didn't have to experience it, but I'm so glad that I just went for it, because that's probably what was going to happen anyway. And if I had waited a few hours, it might have been even more of an emergency and gone even worse. And I'm just so thankful that the second they pulled him out, he was crying, and I only had to be in labor for like less than 2 hours before they made the call for the C-section. I know so many women who I've talked to who are like, yeah, it was like 12 hours, 20 hours, 36 hours into labor or induction when we finally called it and had to do a C-section. And that would have been so much more like emotional and disheartening. I only had to be in labor, like I didn't have an epidural yet. It was like not even painful contractions at that point. So we didn't stay in the hospital for very long because I wanted to get back home to my daughters. So we just stayed for like the minimum they wanted us to stay, because at that point, like I felt like being at home in my own bed was going to be more comfortable. And at the hospital, like, yeah, they help you, but we didn't really need help. We knew what to do with our third baby. Like, we know how to take care of a baby. And at the hospital, like every 2 to 3 hours, somebody's coming in the room to take your blood pressure or wake you up or ask you questions or fill out this paperwork. And it's just like, I just wanted like peace and quiet and not to be interrupted and to just be able to like lay in my own bed. So we went home. Thankfully, my husband had a month off of work. And that was a lifesaver. But at a month postpartum after that C-section, I had only been off opiates for like a week or two at that point. Like I had like tapered, I had taken them straight for like 2 weeks and I tapered off on the third week, and like I was still in a lot of pain, and I was about to have my 3-year-old, my newborn, and then a few weeks later, my 6-year-old was done with kindergarten for the year, and I had the 3 of them this whole summer. So if you're wondering where I've been, that's where I've been. Busy. And just to kind of wrap up the C-section story, now at 4 months postpartum, like I feel totally fine. The area is still numb for sure. Like, but I don't feel any pain in that area. I've been doing yard work. I've been lifting my 3-year-old, my 6-year-old, my baby. Like nothing hurts from it. So I did recover from that quickly. But like at 2 weeks postpartum, when I could still only stand for like a short amount of time, and I was like, in 2 weeks from now, I have to take care of all 3 of my kids while my husband's back at work. I just couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like it just wasn't feeling like I was ever going to feel better. So, and it took like, I would say maybe about 5 weeks postpartum when I was like, okay, I feel like pretty okay. Thankfully, and I hate to even say this because and if your baby's not like this, I know what it's like because my first 2 were not good sleepers. This baby is the best sleeper. And when parents used to tell me that their newborn was a good sleeper, I like literally didn't believe them. I thought they were like lying because I had 2 terrible sleepers, and I'm like, that's not possible. Like babies don't sleep. But now with my third, I've had one that does, and from the beginning, like he's woken up. At first he woke up a couple times a night, and then pretty quickly he was only waking up once a night, and then now he's like sometimes waking up once a night, sometimes sleeping through the night. It's about 50-50. And that postpartum experience is so different from a baby that wakes up 3, 4, 5 times a night, and you're like in the depths of sleep deprivation. So I'm really thankful for that, especially him being my third, being so busy, recovering from the C-section. Like that has been such a lifesaver to have him be a good sleeper. But yeah, it's been a busy summer, like a really busy summer, and not busy in terms of like we've had so many plans and things going on, but just like taking care of 3 kids that are at such different stages was really hard. If you've ever had a 3-year-old, you know how particular they can be with things, and my 6-year-old is older but not old enough to like understand context with what's going on with my 3-year-old, so they've been at it. And then having a newborn who, he's a great sleeper but he's not a great napper yet, so I've gotten the joy of holding him for most of his naps, but when I'm holding a napping baby, what I can do for my 2 other kids is limited. And so I've done what I can to like set myself up for success in the mornings by like having their lunches packed and having like a couple activities set up and stuff like that. But not all days have been great, and there have been a lot of tears from everyone and frustration. As much as I love my little boy and having him is such like the greatest joy, this summer has been really hard, and I am relieved that it's over. And again, the 2 things at once: so joyful and happy and grateful for my beautiful healthy family and loving moments like precious moments throughout the day. At the same time, just completely and utterly exhausted and overwhelmed and ready for school to start. And I'm going to miss my daughter when she's back in school, but then also be relieved that she's getting to like do more what a 6-year-old wants to do throughout the day and be with friends and do like 6-year-old things and not be stuck doing baby things and 3-year-old things. So that's where I've been, just busy being a mom, which is, if I could go back and hug my 29-year-old self and tell her that you're going to be a mom of 3 kids, like that's all I wanted. And sitting in the nightmare of not being able to get pregnant for almost 2 years, like if I had known this is how things would end up, that I'd have 3 wonderful, healthy children, then I would have just been able to say, okay, I want it now, but it'll get here when it gets here. And I try to think about that in moments where I'm getting like frustrated with my kids or overwhelmed with motherhood, and just remember that what I have now is what 10 years ago me would have thought was the dream. I'm out of a career that I hate. I'm home with my kids, and I get to be a mom. At the same time, again, like I keep coming back to this, 2 things can be true at the same time. I'm living my dream in so many ways. At the same time, I'm not getting enough time for myself. Like me and my husband don't have help. It's just us 24/7, and that is so much on us, on our marriage, on us individually, on us as parents, to be able to show up every second of every day for our kids. And I know that, like, again, with my daughter going back to school, it'll give me more time to like focus on my other 2 and not be so exhausted trying to meet so many different needs at the same time. And I just wish I had more time for myself and not just like after my kids go to bed. And I know that will come with time, and when that gets here, I'll look back and I'll miss toddler days, and it goes by in the blink of an eye. Like I feel like my oldest was just born. I can remember it like it was yesterday when I was trying to get pregnant with her, and now she's going into 1st grade. And so I know how quickly it goes, and it's just when you're in it, it's a lot, and then once you're past it, it's gone. And so there's no like balance of like, oh, you can have a little bit of it now and a little bit of it later. No, it's all now and then none later. And so you just have to like jump into it for what it is and try to make the best of the hard moments and just enjoy life with your kids, because you blink and I mean, I can't believe my son's 4 months old. Like that just, he's like not really a newborn anymore all of a sudden. Like it just goes so fast. What else is going on? Also, this year has been a really hard year for us financially. And like I'll make a whole separate video talking about where we're at with money. I've got that all planned out to film soon. Like we started off this year losing our cat, which was really sad. We had him for almost 13 years. So losing him was really hard. But on top of that, we had some vet bills that weren't covered by his pet insurance that we had to pay. My husband needed a bunch of dental work that was thousands of dollars. He took paternity leave, which was not as covered as we thought it was. We had calculated some benefits wrong. We had some major house repairs we had to do. I know there was another major expense, but I can't remember it right now. In medical expenses this year, we've paid $27,000. That's for premiums. Well, by the end of the year, we'll have paid $12,000 in premiums. We've paid $9,000 for out-of-pocket max, and then $6,000 total for dental and vision for our family. And it's just, that's a crushing amount of money. No matter how much money you make, unless you're like making like $1 million, like that's a huge amount of money. That's a car. So yeah, it's just, and we're largely, I mean, I haven't worked most of this year because I was very pregnant and then had a baby. So my income has dropped and my husband's income hasn't gone up. He hasn't gone a raise this year. And part of me is just like, let me go really hard on making content and try to ramp my income back up and get caught up and move things along as quickly as we can. And the other part of me is like, I am so maxed out. Like, I love making videos, so I'll never stop making videos, but like doing it in a way where I'm trying to push myself as much as possible to make more money and grow my channel and stuff like that, versus just doing it for fun and like whatever money comes, great, it's money on top, but not expecting it, is like something I struggle with, because on the one hand, I'm at my max. I don't like, if I make a video, besides right now, like when I can find a small window of time to film, like I'm either multitasking or giving up sleep to do it. And at this point in my life with 3 kids, 38 years old, like I'm not 25. I don't have the energy I have when I was 25. And I also don't have the urgency that I felt with money when we first started paying off debt back in 2020, where our finances were a mess. So like, while there's a lot of room for improvement in our savings and our investing, I'm really happy with where we are with our debt, and our net worth has never been higher. And so, like I said, I'm going to make a video breaking all that down in more detail, but I just don't have the urgency. And part of me feels guilty about that. Like, I should want to push harder and get to where we're going faster with our money, because if I get lazy, maybe we'll start going backwards. And then on the other hand, I'm like, we've pushed hard for almost 6 years now, and it's okay to have a period of time where I'm just making being a mom a priority and my health a priority, and whatever work I can fit in, fine, but I'm not pushing myself beyond what I feel like is a healthy limit to make money or to save money or to like get where we're going faster with money. And like mathematically that doesn't make the most sense, because like the sooner you get to where you're going younger, the more it's going to pay off, like with compounding interest and just everything. Like the earlier you get your money in order, the more it pays off throughout your lifetime. But I feel like I have to balance things, because like it would be nice to make more money, but if that was the goal, I should have stayed in my career where I was making over $100,000 a year. And that's not the goal. The goal was a more balanced, happy life. Yeah, I feel so happy. That's what it comes down to. I feel so happy and peaceful that I don't feel the urgency to push as hard as I can and make myself miserable doing it. And I wish we were a little further along, but like, doesn't everyone? Like, is there a limit to that? What is enough? What is good enough? What number would I wish we were at that I'd be like, okay, yeah, now we can rest? Because anytime you get there, you move the goalposts. So I just don't know that, I don't want to sit here unsatisfied with where we're at with money and stressed about where we're at with money our whole lives, because chances are it's going to be fine. Like, I'm a hard worker. My husband's a hard worker. We're going to keep focusing on this. We changed our ways. It's been 6 years. We haven't gone back into credit card debt or bad spending habits or irresponsible like money practices. And in 6 years, like, we're not going to go back now. And so just because we're slowing down on things, and we've unfortunately bought a house in 2024 instead of 2021. If we had bought this place in 2021, our money would look completely different with the housing prices and the interest rates that were available 3-4 years ago. But in 2021, we weren't ready to make a decision of where we're going to raise our family. We were still considering like moving back to California, or were we going to move to another state, or were we going to stay here? And we weren't ready to make that choice. You can always look back, and hindsight's 2020, and wish you had done things differently. But like, I feel really happy with the decisions we've made. So yeah, it's been like a great summer, but a hard summer. I'm hoping that as my baby continues to sleep through the night and I continue to heal and get through postpartum, probably going to chop all my hair off soon, because it doesn't look super thin with how it is right now, but I promise you, like, it is super thin and it's falling out so quickly. Like, this is how much hair I have. It's just kind of poofy. And I'm just like getting clumps and clumps of hair. So I'm just ready to like chop it all off and let it regrow healthy, because I do like having long hair, but only if it's healthy. So I was thinking of chopping it off, and I'm trying to decide if I should try to DIY that or like go get it cut, because I just don't want to pay $50 for a haircut, but I don't want to mess it up. So I was thinking of like going a little longer and seeing how it goes, and then if I mess it up, I could always go in and have them fix it, go shorter. Anyway, if you've made it this far into the video, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I'm the type of person that has always struggled with friendships and being close to people, and YouTube has given me something that I've always wanted, which is just like, I feel like at any point I can just sit down and like have like a FaceTime style chat with friends, and this is what it feels like when I film a video. It just feels like I'm talking to my friends, but in a way where I can talk about money and I can talk about life, and I don't have to like pretend anything is different than it is, and like just can say whatever is on my mind. And that amount of freedom in like letting stuff out is so healthy and like healing for me. So thank you for being there and like allowing me to talk to you guys like this, because it's just, it feels so wonderful every time I'm able to like sit down and do a chat like this. I am going to be getting back into my normal like personal finance content, my budgeting videos, all that stuff. As I've explained in this video, I am very busy and making money is not my top priority, but I love doing this and I do want to make money. I do want to improve our finances. I do want to keep moving forward in our goals, not backwards. So I will be trying to balance things, do it in a balanced way, but come back as much as I can, because it is something I want to continue doing. So thank you so much for watching. If you're here to the end, as always, if you like the video, give it a big thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you as a subscriber, and I'll see you guys soon in the next one. Bye.